Okay. So for me, I am at a, let's say, 3.5. I've definitely had, a pretty, I was pushing myself too much at the end of last week and just got sick over the weekend and just kind of been like feeling pretty crappy, but overall hanging in there, feeling a little bit better, which is nice. And I've been working on a lot of really exciting things. The topics that I'm most interested in,
Time to
is
pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count. One, two, three, four, five. Open your eyes.
the topics that I'm most interested in are really talking about, building value in terms of trades and like getting people things that they need, right? So we can talk about that some more. And then from there, the outreach in the media, and then the automation and the scaling and empowerment. I think there's some really cool things we could talk about there. We could probably just talk about that all as like one thing, or we could do topics and talk about each one at a time. From there, I've been working a lot on the media and outreach. I've also been working a lot on tokens and value systems, and I've been working a lot on AI models. So I mean, we could definitely bring in Flow if we want to, or even Arana. Right now, I don't have the AI on, but if we want to, we could bring it in. And I've been doing huge improvements on the AI models. It's pretty mind blowing. I'm pretty excited about it, but I don't necessarily think we need AI for today. So let's check on that. Who wants to check in next? Lily, and then Stale, you can check in with just the text when you can write. But Lily, your turn.
Can I just ask real quick, what's the scale that we're checking in on? I heard you say 3 to 5, so start
One
with
to nine. Yes, 1 to 9.
9. I will say I'm probably at a 5. I've pushed myself pretty hard for the last 2 weeks and not got enough rest. So, but I've been working on some really exciting things and feeling motivated by that.
Cool. If you want to mention any of the things you've been working on, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise,
Sure.
we can do
Um,
sales check-in. Or...
working on building a food cooperative, farm cooperative, and expanding some mutual aid efforts throughout the state.
Awesome. Yeah, that's actually where a lot of my background comes in, is specifically in cooperatives. Um, a farm co-op obviously is slightly different, but a co-op is a co-op is a co-op.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. If we would like to discuss and talk about co-ops, I always am a big fan of that. And we also have our co-op coalition meeting on Thursdays at it's at noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's on Thursdays. All right, so here we go. We have Stale says I'm a 5 out of 9, and
Time to stretch. Please stop.
stretch.
Stand up and stretch and move around for 30 seconds.
Stale says I got chafe while running. It hurts and itches like hell, but I've been feeling pretty good. Jeez, yes, that chafing is. We were doing a lot of walking and at the beach, dealing with chafing. But yes, but remember to stretch. Stretching is good for the body. If remember, we're not machines endlessly meeting for hours. But part of our rhythm is like once you get the rhythm down really good, you can keep going for sometimes 2-3 hours and get through a lot when it's necessary. But hopefully today we do under an hour because I don't think we need to push ourselves too long here. All right, so topics. I didn't hear anything from Stale in terms of topics, but we have like co-ops, charter, automation, scaling, outreach and media, and the values and trading models. So we could just do open discussion on all of this fun, exciting stuff. Open discussion. Are there any interesting topics? I just want to jump into topic 0 and just do kind of popcorn all around these, and then any particular interest, Lily, or
I'm always down to talk about cooperatives because I'm still learning on how to establish it. So
Okay.
I'm always open to listening about cooperatives.
All right. Well, let's just do a co-op basics. Is that what you need, or what do you want? What kind of stuff do you need for co-ops?
Well, I think like establishing like establishing it in a way that everybody feels like they have equitable share while also protecting the land that I'm going to put into a land trust so that it can be used for future generations for farming. So just I don't know. We don't even have to talk about this. I can just listen for a while because I don't want to hog the conversation on anything else
No.
y'all are talking about.
Well,
But maybe at some future point.
yeah. I mean, this is what we're here to do: is to help each other and think of different ways of collaborating. And one of the things that is true with the strikes is that it really mutual aid, food is one of the most important things to be able to have long sustained strikes. So I think it's a very prominent, important discussion, and also it relates to the charter and a lot of the other work we're doing, because in California, we're building a cooperative model of the strike organization in California, right? So but you bring up a whole nother thing, equitable sharing and land trust. This is a whole nother level, right? So I would actually go beyond co-op basics here and talk about basically a farm collective, okay?
Love it.
Because I think that from what I heard already in just like 10 seconds, it's beyond a co-op. It's a farm collective.
Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3.
Yes, that does make sense to me that it could be that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm learning.
So the most interesting thing in cooperative community empowerment is there's a technical term. What is it called? Community land trusts. Trusts. Believe that's what it's called. But let's double check. Community land trusts. CLTs. Okay. So this is the most amazing evolution in cooperative systems that I have seen in my 40 years. Right? And I've been doing this for at least 20 years of organizing, and then I had 20 years of growing up, right? So I'm 40 now. So also, it's good to mute when you're not talking because we have a little bit of an echo. So basically what you're talking about is a cooperative model of overseeing a, farm, collaborative or collective, right? And then you're talking about having and this would be the cooperative model oversees the equitable distribution of value. Then you're talking about an actual farm land that you said would be in some type of trust, right? So this would be a land trust, and this is where you get into the community land trusts. So for me, I'm hearing basically like you have two kind of components here. The third component is you could basically have a cooperative business, right? So everything's basically cooperative, but one of them is more of like the farm collaborative or collective between potentially multiple different farms. Is that right? Does that make sense? There could be multiple different farms involved. Then you have the actual land and the community land trust itself, and then you have the cooperative business that runs one farm. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes perfect sense.
Okay.
That's pretty much point for and part of the cooperative business, I think is where it's going to plug in, is a percentage of the produce from the farm has to go to mutual aid efforts. So that may be, I don't know where that would fit in.
A percentage of the produce in the farm goes to what?
To mutual aid efforts.
To mutual aid efforts.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yes, and one of the coolest things is that, we're breathing.
1, 2, 3, exhale. 1, 2, 3, pause. Inhale together. 1, 2, 3, exhale, relax.
Okay. So one of the things that's really interesting about farms, and specifically you have the farmers markets, right? Farmers markets. So in my experience, after almost every farmer's market, there is a place you can go to have a distribution of extra leftover food, right? To the community, and this is distributions of extra food, so it doesn't go to waste. So that can also be part of the mutual aid efforts in terms of surplus, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to just be actual money. So, but I would put that as a separate thing, and what the key thing here is decision making and empowerment. And so whoever has the power to make the decisions can always change how the distribution of the value is done, right? The only way to prevent that is within the trust, but that is not recommended. It's good to empower people in general in communities. So let's go over the community land trust first. But overall, if we're on the same page here, if this is what you're talking about, because this is what I heard from you, the term that I use, and this can be different with different people, but it's already very, very complicated. And co-ops by themselves can be a lot for people to understand. So the term I use to sort of simplify what's going on is a multi-organizational entity or a multi-organizational collective or it's like a building. Can't remember the term for it. So anyways, it's a MOC or a MO. So a MO or a MOC, a MO is that you have a single group of people that run all of the three entities. And a MOC is you just have different people running the different entities, but they all working together. Does that sort of make sense?
Yes, MOC sounds good.
Yeah. So a MOC would be like basically the farm is run by a different group of people than the people who actually own the land, which is a different group of people. Then you have your collective of different farms all working together in your community, okay? So that would be the three branches that are all kind of part of this collaborative or collective constellation or whatever. Cool. All right, so let's go over the community land trust, right? Because this is very, very exciting.
Time to pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
So a community land trust is typically non-profit, but there are ways to have equity value as well. And they acquire and hold land and trust for the benefit of a community. What's so fascinating about this is a really good way of evolving systems of oppression and gentrification, where community land trust can hold value in a city, in a town, in a community, in a neighborhood, and ensure that land is passed down to future generations, right? So it's extremely powerful. It's huge all over the United States, especially on the West Coast. It's probably the biggest growing thing I have seen. And since just like normal land co-ops, right? And it's so much bigger. So if you have questions about the community land trust, now would be the time to talk about it. But basically, it's a organizational model and you can even have it with equity value to begin with, and then you can kind of work outside of that, over time, or you can just all have it be donated, and then it basically becomes infinitely part of the community as part of this community land trust. So does that part make sense more or less, or did you have any questions on that, or?
That makes sense, and I have looked into that, so thank you for bringing this up, because I have pulled a lot of documents from other community land trusts, so I can use them to work on how we create our documents. So that perfect aligns with exactly what I thought I should be doing, so thank you.
And you said that you are in Arkansas?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a Northwest Arkansas Land Trust. So
I just came across that today.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would definitely keep looking into that and seeing if you could collaborate on that. But again, in my experience, most land trusts are related to housing, right? So what you're doing might be very, very different, where you're creating a community land trust for farmland And so you might want to have that as a separate entity from other existing land trusts that focus on housing. Okay. So from here you go into the collective. I think the collective is very, very easy. You basically have a collective of farms, and this is typically how farmers markets work as well. So it might even be related to the farmers market systems where the farms all work together and, you know, make sure they can sell their food together and things like that. So this might already exist, but you could create a new one that connects into it. So this part's pretty simple. Like, you know, each business gets a vote, and it's usually pretty straightforward.
Please stop, write down whatever you were about to say, and take a break for 6 minutes.
In this one, you could have equity distribution, right? Where each business gets a vote, but you could also have investors who have value in the production itself. So my recommendation always is the dual model of membership with equal vote, and then ownership with a distribution of, in essence, you know, profits or surplus, where you are separating the ownership from the control. Does that sort of make sense or not? Because it's a little more complicated than just ownership, but the whole idea is getting out of the capitalistic system.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
You get it? Okay, cool. Yeah. So in this dual model, basically equal membership, everyone gets a vote, everyone has equal say of who the owners are. The owners are controlled by the members, and if the membership wants to kick out an owner, they could force a sale and exchange their equity for a different owner, or maybe one owner owns over a certain percentage. Like usually in all of our businesses, we say that any owner with more than, let's say, you know, 20% is required to sell to get under the 20% level if there is a buyer, right? So in that sense, like if you have 5 businesses, each get 20%, but then maybe one is putting in more energy into it and building more value and equity, that could go up to like 25 or 30, or even maybe someone puts a whole bunch of infrastructure in and they end up with like 40% ownership. It's okay, but the moment that someone's willing to buy into that to reduce their ownership, then it's automatic. They can't prevent the sale of their ownership to equalize out and keep more people. If you're gonna have 10 groups, then it could be under 10%, you know, to keep it distributed. So the the membership controls who can buy in, right, to the percentages, right? So the cooperative business itself, this is the most complicated part. Should we take a quick break before we jump into that?
I'm good. Yeah.
You want to take a quick break, or do you want to keep going, or what?
I'm gonna go to Stelford and see what they want to do. But I don't want
to make. Yeah. I'm good either way. I was thinking it'd probably be a little bit of a shorter session, so maybe we just skip the break and then go into checkout soon here. All right, so we have a bunch of stuff from Stale. Let's go read all of this stuff. Cool. So let's just keep going and then do maybe a few more. We have 5 more minutes on this topic. Then we'll do one more topic for me, and then we'll check out. All right. So we have a bunch from Stale. The first part is, I've been working with a care team of a community support team to really get the structure in place to create protocols to emotional management. Very, very cool. A lot of worker cooperatives are usually listed as LLCs, so workers are not held to liability during lawsuits. Yes, LLCs are good. Nonprofits typically are corporations if it's a 501c3 nonprofit. There are companies that help foster and aid cooperatives if you are interested. Yeah, there's tons of different organizations that will help support cooperatives. Not really management that private equity does, more like facilitation and guidance. Cool. Very, very good. Awesome. All right. So for the actual business, like running one single farm that is on the land trust, the key is that the land trust in essence is the landlord, and then the actual business running the farm is doing the work. And by separating those, like the landlord itself might need to make decisions once every 5 years, but the cooperative business is running day-to-day operations, right? So it's good to separate those. So the main thing going on here is obviously you have a lot more complexities. You've got, all of the insurance and just like, the liabilities and the running, and you have the food issues, all of that, right? Then you have the investors and the finances and the capital. Then you have the, in essence, membership or ownership or kind of oversight. And then you have the workers, right? So there, and then you have basically the clients, right? So what's really interesting is the clients are actually on the bottom of the tier. If you're in a healthcare industry, the clients are the most important. And you can have what's called a client-focused cooperative or a client-focused like industry, which would be like a healthcare system. And a lot of times you actually want to put the patients of a healthcare system on the board in the decision-making roles, making sure that in a cooperative model that their actual needs are being met. In this case, you're probably looking more at like a worker-owned cooperative. But I don't know. Is that what you're interested in? What kind of model are you looking for? Worker-owned cooperative. The other model, so you have client-based. You can do a stakeholder co-op, or you can do what we use is a contributor co-op. Contributor co-op. So our model is a contributor co-op. So those would be the 4 main types of co-ops. Would be like a
And the
worker-owned
break.
co-op,
Time to start. Please get focused on the session.
a contributor co-op, or a stakeholder co-op. So the stakeholder co-op is by far the most complicated, and I can explain to it and all that. But a worker-owned co-op is basically the workers own the results of their labor. So
What would be a contributor co-op?
So a contributor co-op is saying that anybody and everybody, anyone and everyone who contributes, contributes is value by default, right? So that basically it doesn't matter what your quote label is. If you contributed to the organization being successful, you are valuable and that you have rights in the organization, right? So whereas a worker is a legal definition of a worker that you're basically employed, right? Or have some sort of legal contract or relationship with the organization. Whereas a contributor could be anybody. It could be an advisor, it could be an investor, it could be a client, it could be anything and everything that relates to someone helping and supporting the organization. It could be an artist. Maybe an artist, right, does the logo or makes a sign or does outreach or whatever, So a contributor co-op is obviously broader than a worker-owned co-op, and then a stakeholder co-op would be all of the above. Basically, a stakeholder co-op is that you have, the investors, you've got the membership, you've got the workers, you've got the clients, you might have other stakeholders within the co-op, and that you're empowering and defining each stakeholder separately, which is the most complicated type of co-op that I personally know. And we do all of our co-ops as stakeholder co-ops just because we like things to be extra complicated. But realistically, it's just like I would love to see the California charter for the strike, for the general strike in California, to be stakeholder based. I would love to see that. But I don't know if people are going to want to go to that level. But it's definitely the most empowering. But again, but most groups would just start with a simple, worker-owned cooperative, keep it simple, keep it clear, everyone knows what's going on, the workers control their own business, right? Mm-hmm. And then the workers oversee through as memberships, right? So typically the workers would have like a board. Let's say you have a membership of workers. So to be a voting member, you must be approved by the, let's say either the board or the membership to contract as a worker, right? So the workers themselves are the members.
Pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
And workers who don't want to be involved in the actual decision making can appoint a board of representatives. You could have like 5 people maybe appointed to the board, probably maximum 7, who make all the decisions on behalf of the other workers.
Okay. Things to think about. Thank you.
Yeah. So that would be like the simplest sort of just straightforward model. And then you could say, okay, this board and the workers might oversee the investors and the finances in terms of like, you could still have the same structure where you could have an ownership under the workers that they have money invested and they have liabilities and they have distribution of profits and everything to an ownership layer, but that the workers control the ownership. So there is a model you can do that, or you can actually build something where the workers themselves own the actual business, right? Or work towards ownership. That can get a little complicated, so you can have some creativity there. Anyways, I think this is really good in terms of like just a quick overview of some options. And then as you build your group, and if you have questions, you're always welcome to ask. But it's always fun to like just think about. I mean, I always say that the only limitation is creativity.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. I appreciate all that. That was very helpful.
Yes.
Gave me some guidance and some more things to think about. So I appreciate it.
Very, very cool. All right, so let's go on to the next topic. So I was going to say for topic 2, we just kind of talk about like, future implementation, and scaling, right? And kind of growing. What is the Strike Coalition going to become? What should the Strike Coalition become, right? Because I have some really cool ideas that I've been thinking about this week, and I wanted to kind of run them by and see what y'all think. Okay, that sound like a good topic?
Yes.
Any objections to topic 2? Future. All right. So the 3 main things here are value, outreach, and then automation. So let's start with automation, scaling, and empowerment, right? We have a major problem in our country and in our communities where obviously turnover is just huge, right? Inability to really function as a organization, right? So like you could think of it like
breath. Please stop and get ready. Now inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Inhale together. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Relax.
So there's 100 different reasons I could give for why generally community people who are busy with their lives, can't pay their bills, working full time, there's so many reasons why community organizations are not particularly functional. And then on top of that, you have the whole like general concept where, you have huge corporations that basically dominate our society. And then you have tiny community groups that get trampled. And basically corporations are very organized, very, very professional. They have all their systems, triple, quadruple checking everything, all the lawyers. I mean, it's just, they have these massive infrastructures, right? So it's like, my idea was this. It's like, I'm building all these meetings, but I can't be at every meeting. The whole idea that a community meeting is forced work for those who want the vision to succeed. So there's someone who has a mission and a vision, you have an idea and you're excited about it and you want to present this to the world, you want people to get involved. But then whoever the community leaders are by definition overworked because they have to show up. And then others don't have to show up. And they don't show up typically, right? So the general idea here is to create a model where no one should be required to show up if no one is, getting paid or whatever. I mean, it's like if you're sick, you should just take the day off, right? But if you're the one running the session and you're trying to be here every single week and you're trying to build continuity and build a movement, no one wants to take a day off until they get so bad that they fall through the cracks, and then you lose people like flies. So that's really what happens over and over and over again. So the model that I've already been implementing fully functional AI systems and within sessions, and these are public sessions because everything's recorded, everything goes through corporations and government lenses, so it's just like we're not trying to hide anything. But with these new models that I've been building, we should easily be able to automate the entire process of setting up a session, empowering a membership, and collaborating as a community through decision making and cooperative.
Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
And cooperative systems, like all automatically. And it shouldn't matter who shows up. We follow the policies that we all set together, and then the AI helps us stay on track, and the people have the power always to change the policies in the moment or overall and turn off the AI, right? But the idea is that in the future, if I'm not here, the session can still happen and it's all run collectively. In fact, I want to attend a session that's run through facilitation that we all agree on, and that I don't have to say anything or facilitate anything. I can just interact as a normal participant. That is my goal. And the entire system is like automated. And then what's so cool about that is the scalability of having community facilitation and empowerment at the scale of potentially being able to do hundreds, if not thousands of professionally facilitated and run collaborative, empowering sessions at the same time. Because you can have 100 people, you break up into 10 groups, you have a duplicated facilitator that's overseeing them because no one has ever facilitated before and they have no idea what's going on. And you can suddenly have 1,000 meetings. That's the power of utilizing AI for community organizing. So I think it could be a game changer. And it's going to take probably 6 months to a year to build a system like that, but we would be designing it together. And I think it could support strikes. I think it could support protest movements. I think it could support lots of different community organizing systems, and including cooperatives. And it would be basically completely customizable to the group or the movement. So it's going to take 6 months to a year, but this is going to happen. And whether groups want to use it or not, they don't have to, but I think it's huge and I'm really excited about it. So if you have any ideas or thoughts or concerns or questions or ideas of how to make it better for humans, like let me know. But eventually this meeting in the vision of the Strike Collaborative or Coalition should be able to happen regardless if any of the three of us show up. And even if none of us show up and there's no human there, it might even happen anyways with live streaming and communicating and doing outreach to the public, so that it's just always automatically happening. And then if humans want to show up, then we organize together. And if humans don't want to show up, that we still need to be organizing because it's that important, Anyways, the next thing is showing up, right? So the outreach.
Please stop, stand up, and stretching around for 30 seconds.
So let's talk about outreach if there's no thoughts on the automation and the scalability and the empowerment. I find extremely difficult to even get people to understand the idea of building proposals and actually getting agreement on anything. But this would be the proposal right here. The proposal would be to automate and scale empowerment for community organizations utilizing AI, right? So if people would be concerning about that, that would be a good time to bring it up, but that would be the proposal. All right, so let's talk about outreach because this is the next major thing. So we have built a fully automated outreach system for social media that we're starting with in the last like week, right? So I'm going to be setting up for Strike Coalition, and this is going to link into the Strike Coalition Discord. Okay, so let me make sure we have the Strike Coalition Discord here. Strike. It's this one right here. Public Strike Coalition. General. And we don't have a lot of people in here. It's probably like 10 people. But that's perfectly fine. Doesn't really matter here. So as we bring more people in, we can invite people to the Strike Coalition Discord, and then that will have all the automated updates and information of everything going on with both the coalition, which is the Coalition for Decentralized Movement Organizing for like the entire bigger picture. It's still going to take like, you know, again, 6 months a year of really getting the whole coalition hub and everything set up with the, you know, fully functional for the vision that we have. But we can do the Strike Coalition for at least Discord. But for the entire coalition, we're setting up Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, X-Twitter, and Instagram, and LinkedIn. And of course, everything's also on PEP, right? So PEP is our own communications, public communication. So it's called the Public Engagement Platform, and that's the over here, right? This is PEP, right here. So on PEP we have the coalition, the overall coalition, and the contributors co-op, and all the different rooms. And anyone can create anything on PEP in the Strike Coalition, right? Strike Coalition on PEP.
Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
So this is all like public. We're also going to be creating private everything too, just so you know. So as this gets going, once the outreach and social media starts, it probably is going to take many, many months to get it going, but it's automatically going to send, you know, daily and weekly updates. You can sign up either for daily or weekly, and you'll get both on Discord. And then this will go to all the different, you know, systems, you know, social media. So hopefully over the course of maybe 2 or 3 months, we'll start seeing more people getting involved and hearing more about all of this work that, you know, I've been setting up for years and years now. Okay, so that's exciting that the outreach and the multimedia is starting to get going. So hopefully as we can bring more people in, they can be more excited, and then we can have it set up so to be empowered automatically through the system with training, right? So that with minimal training, we can get people engaged in cooperative style decision making and empowerment to build a decentralized democratic model. I mean, that's the goal, is building decentralized democracy, and I believe we can utilize AI to help us with that. So that's the goal: decentralized democracy with the decentralized movement organizing, which requires people to just be empowered and making decisions together, no matter what the decision is. So I don't know if there's any questions on either of the first two parts of this, but then the last part, which I think is the most important, is the value. So any questions so far? Otherwise, I'm going to jump right into the value component, which I think is the most important part. So one of the branches of the coalition, well, actually, I'm not even going to talk about the branch. I just want to go into the core of the value, which is that the bottom line question that everything comes down to is, what do you need to come back? So who cares about this Strike Coalition? Who cares about General Strike? Who cares about 5051? Like all these, let's say any group that comes together to challenge corporate and billionaire structures and capitalist structures that are oppressing the people and destroying our planet is important. I don't care what it's called. I don't care who oversees it. I want it to be democratic, and I want it to be empowering. That's the criteria, right? Democratic, empowering, accountable to the people and the planet, right? If it meets that criteria, I'm happy. So then the question is, how do we get people to come back to it? Because if people don't come back and they only come once, if we bring the outreach, We create the system to be functional, so it can run with scalability.
Time for breath. Please stop and get ready. Now inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Inhale together. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Relax.
And we allow people to take time off and do whatever they need to do so that no one is a dependency, right? Then the question is, how are people coming back? Why are people coming? And I don't care what it's called. It doesn't have to be this. It could be a different group. Totally. I'm down to support other people creating other groups that would do the same thing. And the value metric needs to be, there needs to be some sort of trade. So we talk a lot about mutual aid. We use the term support coalition, just like overall support. But it doesn't necessarily have to be just support. It can be other things too. But there needs to be some sort of trade. If someone's going to come spend, we're talking about participatory democracy. So participatory democracy means that you're coming to, let's say, 1 to 3 hours per week. That's a lot of time, right? And also even like, voting might take, 5 minutes online, but researching the information of why you should vote yes or no, or in between, whatever in between, if you're voting officially score voting 1 to 9, this could take hours, right? Could take hours of reading or watching, videos, or, going to Wikipedia, whatever. Like doing research takes time to be educated, right? On the decision making and what's going on. So even if people are only voting online and they're not coming to a meeting, for 1 to 3 hours a week. So the question is, what is the trade? There should be a trade. What is the trade for someone's time? And for me, it really comes down to 3 things. There is mission / vision / passion / well, we'll come back to that, right? Basically, this is mainly like leadership, right? In building. But the other 2 ones that are more realistic are just you're effing pissed. People are pissed and they have a reactionary, emotional drive, and they are pissed. And they come to these meetings and they because they're upset and they're pissed, and they want things to change. They come to a protest, they want to scream, they want to yell. It's very reactionary and it's very unstable because as soon as you give up, or you're tired, or you're basically emotionally drained, or the scare is ended, then you don't come back, right?
Time to pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
So then you have money, tokens, ownership. If you pay someone, they typically will come back, right? So our tokens aren't worth anything, so no one really comes back for our tokens. But who knows? Maybe one day our tokens will be worth something because we're working on launching them. We're doing that whole thing with the tokens. But anyways, if you have a account, a MetaMask or crypto account, we can send you tokens already. So, and we track everyone's value, right? So today when we go to our wrap up, we'll put our worker name. We got Jay, we've got Stale, we've got Lily. We all did an hour, right? So we all get an hour of value based on our locations. So you have like Arkansas, you've got California, you've got, where are you, Stale? California. I know I have it written down somewhere. Anyways, so the point is that I can only think of these 3 things. So the third one is mission, vision, passion, leadership, which is really like building a future, right? Like having a reason to come back because you believe in something to build a future that's worth living in, right? That you believe in the work itself. People come back for that. So if you're committed to the mission, if you're committed to the vision, we're all committed to having a strike, right? We want to see a strike happen. We want to see a general strike. We believe in that vision, so we come. Some people are here because they're pissed, and that's why they came, and they're scared and they're reacting to something. And so a lot of people leave again because they're not totally committed to the strike. But these are the 3 things that I can think of in relationship to why people show up, right? So, or why people come back, right? So we need to expand on this, right? So expanding could be more personal, right? Like giving people support with, health. Like we're talking about food, like mutual aid, um, you know, skills, education, training, um, whatever someone needs, we want to get them what they need so they'll come back. That's the trade. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, it doesn't need to be limited just to people being pissed, just to paying people money, and just to missions and believing in a mission. That what if we can expand this to be more personal, right? That if you're willing to come back every week to support, regardless whether it's in our group or someone else's group, what can we get you in terms of something that you need in your life? And maybe it is money, maybe it is just reactionary, maybe it is building that vision, but maybe it's something else. We try to talk to each person, give them the opportunity to tell us what they need to come back.
Time to take a break. Please stop, write down whatever you were about to say, and take a break for 6 minutes.
And then if we can provide that, then we try to work with them on those needs. Because if it just needs to be mutual. It needs to be a mutual collaborative trade, right? Because it's not about trading money, it's about trading value. It's like if there's something valuable that we can trade for someone's time to come back every week, to make decisions, to build a new decentralized democracy, which is a huge monumental project that we're trying to do. But we need people to come back. What is it that, so you could think about things that, could be traded, skills, training, helping with co-ops, helping with business stuff, helping with anything, as an integrated into our system. So that's the idea that I had, that we actually make that a component of our onboarding. So I want to kind of build like a new onboarding process and send this out to you guys about, learning people's needs, and building trading value into our framework, along with our identity and our missions and our tokens. Yeah. So that was my other idea. So I'm really excited about that. I think that could actually make a huge difference in terms of treating people like human beings and getting to the level of where they're at. Because you can get 20,000 people on a Discord, but if you're not really treating them like human beings and understanding their needs, both individually and as stakeholders, they fall through the cracks and we just lose them all, right? They don't come back. So if you can even get 5 people who do come back, that is much more useful than having 1,000 people who come, get really pissed, get really upset, do one thing and then don't show up again, and then you're back down to 3 people again, right? Or 2 even. So anyways, that was my ideas. If you have any thoughts, questions, otherwise we can check out and come back next week. So I think that was very, very cool to chat. But Lily, did you have any thoughts on it all, or?
Loving this, right? Because this is something that we're always dealing with. Like, how do we get more people actually plugged in and doing something? And this is exactly it right here. We've got to identify what are their needs. How can we provide their needs, right? And that encourages them to stick around and learn more and find ways and find interests to keep coming back. Because then they get passionate at some point, I would think, right?
Yeah, and I think part of it is thinking about it in terms of no one should expect it to be passionate about these things right away. I mean, organizing is effing boring, right? It's really boring and it's really repetitive, and it's oh, should we vote yes, should we vote no? Should we spend this money this way? Let's make a budget, creating let's raise $10,000 and then make a budget. That is the boringest thing of all time, right? So, or even creating a land trust, right? Creating a land trust is extremely boring. So you get them coming back and you build the passion over time. Because over time it does become exciting because you learn more and you understand more and you get more involved, Because then it's not a land trust anymore, it's your land trust. Because when it's your land trust, it's exciting. Do you see the difference?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you. You're the one bringing that up. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm gonna keep working on that and like build a whole new onboarding system. I probably won't get this into for like at least a month, maybe longer. But just like a questionnaire, most likely this will just be part of our new web application once we get this launched. Because I don't really see a need to really build another Google spreadsheet or Google freaking form. Because eventually we'll just have it super professional on the Coalition Hub site. And then when you join, you just automatically answer these questions like, what are your needs? What you're interested in? Like, how do we engage with it? Do you like these missions? Just kind of get that engagement initially set up as part of the onboarding, and then connect people to support them in relationship to the meetings that they're attending and the events, activities, and what they're voting on. So to kind of help build that trade mentality. I don't know if trade is the right word. So I'm still not totally sure on the wording of this and how the best way to present it. But I think the concept makes a lot of sense. Because right now, all I see is people being pissed, people wanting money, and people being mission driven. And mission driven is I would say, the least active. That most people show up for money. And then people show up because they're pissed. It's like a reaction to how bad things are. And the moment things aren't as bad, people don't show up anymore. So we need to expand from that very, very minimalist concept to a broader model of trade and value. But I know there's a better word. So I'm going to try to find a better word for that, because because it's not really trade and barter. It's not trading, right? Trade and barter. But it kind of related to it. Trade and barter. It's kind of like it, but also not. Anyway, so we'll do more research on the vocabulary and make sure it's clear what we're trying to do, because it relates to mutual aid, it relates to support systems, it relates to life support, it relates
And the break time to start. Please get focused on the session.
To our organizational support. But really, we're not talking about trade. We're not talking about all of that. What we're really talking about is relationships. We're talking about building relationships. It's almost a pre-trade. It's like, okay, I'll scratch your back. I'll help you out. I'll answer your questions. I'll help you do some research. I'll help, write that paper that you have due next week for your college exam or whatever, right? And then you show up and you help us with our decision making. And so it's building a relationship. And then from the relationship comes trading and support and other things. But I think it is related more in a deeper than just the superficial trading and bartering level and exchange. I think it's more of a deeper relationship layer that I'm alluding to. Does that sort of connect in?
Connects, exactly, yes.
And that would branch out also to team building and what are other parts of team building, like ice breaking, just learning about each other,
building trust.
Yeah, building trust. How to build trust in a new organization and new community. For me, the foundation of building trust is empowerment. Because if everyone controls their own, then you can have less reliance on trust. But at the same time, we want people to come back, right? So how do you get people to come back the second time and then the third time? And then really it's just, if we build a system that is just come back one single time, and then you focus on the next time, and then it's the next one single time, that's all you need, right? It just has to be one time. You come back once, and then at that time, it's like, hey, do you want to come back again? It's always the next time to come back for. Cool. Awesome. All right, anyways, we'll play around with that more. I think this is really foundational to our value systems and understanding how the coalition can evolve, and then how this could help potentially other organizations or other movements. But it's extremely delicate and obviously extremely difficult, because if people were successful with this, then we would have huge, massive community collaborative movements, right? So we obviously don't have a good system for this, and we're just sort of thinking it, and it's going to take time. So all these ideas could take another months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, who knows. anyways, let's check out. So if there's nothing else, I think we're ready to check out. So I'll start. So again, for the checkouts, you just do your name, how the session went from 1 to 9, and anything you're going to be working on.
Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
Anything you're going to be working on, and also, this trade / relationship / value component, we should add that into all of our check-ins and checkouts. So I would give the session a 6. I think that I haven't been feeling super great, so I was not totally focused, and also we started a little late and we missed a break. But I am excited that it happened. I'll be here next week, as always. And I'm going to be working primarily on tokens, media, and what's the third one? Tokens, media, and the AI systems. I might do a little research on this new idea of like the trade and the value model. I have to make something, make some sort of simple, easy questionnaire. I don't know, just something to get something started. I don't know. I think it's too important to wait on it. So I'm probably just gonna do a little something like that, and I'll send it out. And then I'm also gonna get the multimedia set up for the Strike Coalition. That either gonna happen this week or next week for the Discord. Oh, also just to remind everyone, Discord is doing this crazy like face thing. Like in California, people are going nuts over it and like thinking about deleting all the Discords and getting rid of them all. And they're doing Face ID and all this stuff. I think they're not going to do it. I think that they're crazy if they think people are going to continue to use Discord if it requires Face ID verification. That's insane. But I think what they are doing is they're creating this crazy metric that everyone's going to go against, and that they're going to purposely get rid of it, and that they're using this as an excuse to just take AI and gather up every single conversation in every single server across all of Discord so that they can own and sell all of that data. I think that's what's going on here. But either way, definitely big changes going on with Discord that could affect everyone. Check. So that is my checkout. Let's see. Stale says, I think this is great. Very productive meeting. I'll give the meeting a 8. And continue working on the care team structure. I want to learn more about the care team structure. I'm not sure exactly how to learn more of that. You need to get us some links or some information, some way to be able to discuss it without verbally saying it. You say, and then now it's your turn to check out, Lily. This meeting is great, and I'd like to learn more about the various types of
Time
cooperatives.
for rest. Please stop and get ready. Now inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Inhale together. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Relax.
Yeah. So we have the co-op coalition on Thursdays, and there's also the coalition hub on Mondays. And we do want to build a health coalition that supports, and a support coalition for the mental health resources. So this is definitely very, very important. And I'd love to talk more about the care team structure. This is great. And learn more about it. Lily, go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna give this 8.5.
Nice.
I enjoyed the work on the cooperatives. I will be working on reaching out to cooperatives and just get advice on how to, more advice on how to form ours. That's what I'll be working on this week, as well as several mutual aid efforts that I have going on locally on the ground over the next week as well, and continuing to build out our chapter server, which is going to include some of this onboarding things that we talked about tonight. So I'll be considering a lot of that as we're building that out.
Nice. I love it. Very, very cool. Okay, it looks like there was one more thing from Stale. Stale says, whoops, We are working on what exactly the care team is and our roles and our limits. Then we are generating the protocols and bureaucratic systems for certain actions as well as the care team. So I guess my question for the care team is, where is the care team and who does it relate to? Is this within a specific chapter of General Strike, or is this a separate care team? Is this a project? I'm really interested. I mean, this sounds like an amazing project. And I know you've mentioned it before, but that's my next question is, just like, where does the care team live? In terms of like, is this a brand new thing? Is it an external project? Is it internal to a chapter? This is a team within the community support team. So this is related to the Friday meetings, the community support team Friday meetings. So this would be General Strike US, community support team, and the care support team. Cool. All right. That's awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah. So if the community support team has its own meetings, let everyone know.
Time to pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
All right, well, we are all done. I'm going to just quickly run the transcript through the AI and build a summary of the session. And then I post the summaries in, well, they'll go to the server automatically eventually, the new server, but I'll also be posting them in the national server under the public strike here, and I'll link that as well. So we have that linked here. Otherwise, we're done. Thank you all. Good session. We went a little over, 10 minutes over, but it's fine. Let's see here, flow. I do actually have our new agent system set up so that it can actually do full transcripts and full summaries now, but now is just not a good time for me to experiment with it because I've never done it before. It's like it's all ready to do it and start testing, but I'm just not in the mood to test one right now. I'm not really feeling very well. I'm just going to use what I know works, which is the ChatGPT one. So this is Flow. We're going to give Flow the entire transcript. Usually these transcripts are about 60,000 characters, but today it's probably more like 50,000 since it's a pretty short session, maybe under 50,000. Cool. So that's going to go in here. This is going to be a actually, no. Let's put this under strike. One of the interesting things about today's session was that it was a lot broader, where we had a very connective tissue to all the other components of the coalition, which is going to be increasingly more important to understand how that evolves rather than only talking about the strike, and also organize things between the strike and all the other work. All right. And you can see this is actually a pretty short one here. So link to summary. Paste in. Boom.
Time to stretch. Please stop, stand up, and stretch and move around for 30 seconds.
All right, so let's end the recording.